Hello everyone, it's been some times when I last created a video. I think it took me probably 2 to 3 weeks to create this one. It is just because I didn't feel so well. I was sick and my voice changed, so I wouldn't even bother to make the video if it wouldn't at least sound good. But here I am now, and with this new video we will actually create the Spotify homepage, well, clone of the page. We will only use HTML and CSS for that, so whatever you see right here on the screen will actually be on our page when we finish it up. So for example, the Spotify has this sidebar with different links, some hover effects as well. We will be sure to create those, to have all of those links here. Down there is cookies and privacy. We will be sure to use, well, to create those ones as well. Then we would have this I guess backwards and the next icons which are disabled. We will do those as well. This top bar with the hover effects as well, and we will present these lists here so we can see the lists here as well. The changes between our cloned site and actually the Spotify site will be probably only in icons, because I couldn't find the exact icons to show here on a sidebar. So instead of those, we will use Font Awesome icon library. But otherwise, everything will look pretty much similar. There will be also these nice animations here with hiding and showing display buttons and so on, and the whole list as well. And as you can see down below, we have this preview of Spotify, this kind of gradient for this, I guess, bottom line, whatever. With this sign up free button, we will do that one as well. So before we dive into code here, I would really like if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, as that kind of support is always helpful and useful. But yeah, let's code. So first of all, we are starting with just empty project in Visual Studio Code. The only thing that I have is this img folder for my, well, for the assets, which will be different images of different playlists. Outside of that, we don't have anything. It is just empty folder. If you wish to get your images, be sure to prepare some of the images if you wish to actually code along with me here. But as this is just HTML and CSS tutorial, and we are creating this Spotify homepage clone with just those two, let's create those files. So first of all, I will create index.html, and I will also create styles.css file. So all code that should be added will be in these two files. First of all, what I like to do is use this HTML and then just prepare this dummy, well, default code for HTML. I will add here Spotify clone as a title for my website. As we will use this CSS file, it would be nice to actually link that CSS file to our HTML so we can style the HTML content. And as we change the font of the site to look more as a Spotify font, I will actually here search for Montserrat. Here it is. I'm using fonts.google.com to find a specific font, and right here I can actually select which fonts I wish to add. So I will select all different variants of this font. I'm just selecting those here, and we will be able to link those into our, well, to our site. So right here there are two different links. So I will copy this one from here, as this one will actually import the Montserrat font in all different variants. And in my index.html, I will simply paste that font. What I can do, I can just format this a bit. Now also it would be nice to copy this CSS from here, and in our styles.css file to target our body and put that font family for, well, the whole site to be there. So now we change the font of our Spotify clone site. There is also one more thing that I mentioned, and I will add that thing inside of my body right here. And that thing is actually the script of my Font Awesome kit that I have. This is a free kit that I use, which will give me some free icons that I can use. If you wish to get your own kit, you can go to Font Awesome, be sure to register there, and you will be able to get yourself a free kit for the icons. But with that here, we are pretty much finished with the setup of our clone. so we can actually start coding right here. So first of all, what I wish to create is my sidebar, and I will create the div with the class of sidebar. So everything that will be in a sidebar will actually go in that div. Well, there are a couple of things that I would like to put inside of this div. First of all, I will create the div of logo, and inside of this logo I can actually create an image for my logo. So I will point that image to my img folder, and then then logo.png. For alt name of this image I will just use logo. It is important to notice here that we won't use any framework like Bootstrap, for example. It will be just HTML and CSS. So it will be on us to actually style this image and make it proportional to our web page. So we cannot we won't have that Bootstrap, for example, to take care of that. So I forgot to wrap this image actually. This image should be clickable, so I will just wrap it with the anchor tag, as it's a logo, so we should be able to click on it. Next to the logo section, I wish to create also navigation section. So I will create a navigation div with the navigation class. Inside of this navigation section, we will have the list, unordered list, and list items inside. So the idea of this list items is to actually have those icons and the names of different pages. That is the, we have those in sidebar of Spotify. So right here, I will create the anchor tag for this list item. Then I will create the span, and I can pass some classes to this span. First of all, I will pass the class of FA to call that font awesome library of icons. And then I will use FA home, which will actually get us the home icon from the library. So now we have our icon there. We can use span again, and I will set home here as a text. This is our first kind of link to a page. Now let's grab this whole list item and paste it few times. So for example, I can paste it here for a search, and we will have also library. So right here it won't be a home icon, it will be actually search icon. And here instead of home text we will have search text. Then right here for a library I will use FA, then FAS for a solid icon, and then FA book for a book to present the library here, and I will use your library here as a text. Now, going quickly to Spotify, we can see that between those three links that we just created, the markup for those, we have a bit of spacing and then two additional links. Well, actually, I will grab my entire navigation and paste it once again. So that spacing will actually be the margin of our navigation. So it will look like we have two different navigations, but in the UI, it will still be presented as one. So right here, what I wish to create is actually those two additional links. So for the first one here, I will use icon of FA, then FAS, FA plus square. And then here the text for it will be create playlist. Then we have the second one, which will be, the icon will be FA, FAS, FA heart, and the text for it will be liked songs. I will also remove this last list item because we won't need that one. As a last thing for our Spotify sidebar, we have these cookies and privacy at the bottom, so let's create those ones. Well, right after this navigation section, this div, I will create another one with policies class. And inside we can just put the unordered list item, anchor tag, and the text for this anchor tag will be cookies, and another one for the privacy. And with that, we actually have our sidebar fully finished. So let's check this actually. To check this, I will click on this Go Live, which will run the live server for us. If you wish to have that Go Live option on your Visual Studio Code, be sure to install Live Server extension from Visual Studio Code. But right here we can see at the bottom, we see our links that we just created, also policies as well. But there is a lot of white space here, but this here is not white empty space. This is actually our image, our logo. You can see that it takes a lot of space. So let's actually now move ourselves into CSS and style our sidebar, so we know that one section of our clone is already finished. So as I said, I will move myself into the styles.css, and before my body here, I will target the star sign. This star, when you use it in CSS, will actually target all of the elements on a screen. And for that, I will put padding to be 0 and margin to be 0, so we can start from 0 padding and margin for, well, 0 padding and margin for all elements. So we could actually add our own if we wish to. So next to this font family, which should also change the background color of our body, because the background color of Spotify is a bit dark, I will put it to be 121212, and that's good enough. Now, after this body, we can actually style our sidebar. So I will target my sidebar and I will position that as fixed, as it is always on the left side, always fixed to the left part of the screen. So for that, I will set the left to be 0, and as it will be from top to bottom, well, fully spanned from top to bottom, I will use top 0, bottom 0 as well. Now, next to that, we can set the width of the sidebar, and there is a specific width to this Spotify sidebar, which is 196 pixels. Then we can also set the background color, because there is a different background color than a body background color that we have, and this one is absolute black, which is 0000000. Now, there is a bit of padding to this sidebar. I will set it to be 24 pixels. At this moment, nothing special on our screen. We can now see our logo on our page, but it is too big. So we need to, first of all, take care of our logo. We need also to style our links. But we have that sidebar, that blank bar on the left side, and we can see that the styles of our body is actually changed. Let's go back now to CSS and finish our sidebar. So now let's target again sidebar, then logo section, and that image. For this image, I will set the width of the image to be 130 pixels, and from there we can go to our navigation. So here I will use sidebar and then navigation, and as I'm targeting this navigation, I will target unordered lists that we have inside of our navigations, which are these ones here. So for the list, I will set the list style to be none, so we don't have that bullet point at the end. I will also set the margin on the top to be 20 pixels, so we have a bit of spacing between our lists and the logo. So after this here, I will again target my list and each specific list item inside. So for these ones, I will just put a bit of padding, like 10 pixels top and bottom, 0 pixels left and right. And then let's target each specific anchor tag inside of those list items. So anchor tags will have a color of B3, B3, B3. Then text decoration will be none, because by default the anchor tags will always have that underline. Then font weight should be bold, because Spotify has bold links there. And font size of those links will be 13 pixels. Now, as we are having these links, it should be also nice to have that hover effect on those. So I will grab those and use hover pseudo class here. But I will also use active and focus as well. So for these ones here, I will just change the color to be FFF, FFF whenever we hover over our anchor tags. One notice that we need to make on this Spotify site is actually when we hover over our text of our anchor tags, only the text will change the color. But if we hover over the icon and the text will change the color. So there is a bit of difference there. We need to style it that way. And to style it that way, actually, I will grab this whole part and paste it below. And just after this hover, I will use that FA. Because when we hover our links, our, icons should stay the same color, which is this B3, B3, B3 color. And now, when we actually hover those, icons, so I will grab it once again like this, and then use hover on the icon. We can again use active and focus. So when we hover our icon, basically, then we will change the color of it to be FFF, because otherwise icon won't change the color, only when we hover over it. But that's pretty much it about our navigations, so let's focus now on our policies. For that, again, I will target my sidebar, then my policies, and here we can set, well, because the policy is actually on the bottom side, I will put the position of it to be absolute, and bottom, this will put the policy menu from the bottom to be 100 pixels, for example. So now let's target that unordered list. So sidebar that policies unordered list. I will put the list style to be none, so we don't have that bullet point at the beginning. Then let's target each list item after this unordered list. Well, not after, inside of this unordered list. I will put the padding on the bottom to be 5 pixels, so they could have a bit of spacing between each other. Then each anchor tag inside of this list as well. Anchor tag, and for that we will set the color to be B3, B3, B3. Font weight won't be fully bold, but 500 now. Then we can use text decoration, should be none. And also I will set the font size to be 10 pixels, a really small font. Now to finish these policies, we will actually also style the hover, active, and focused states for these links. And for those I will actually just add the back text decoration. So I will set it to be underline. One thing before we go into our testing, actually here when I styled my icons and so on, I didn't style icon without any hover state. So to be sure to style those, I will target my sidebar, then navigation, then our unordered list item, and FA for each icon that we have inside. I will change the font size to be 20 pixels and margin on the right side to be 10 pixels, so we could have a bit of spacing between our text and the icon. Now with that, we have our sidebar, Spotify sidebar fully coded. And even if I would change the screens, you can actually see that the only difference here is a bit in icons, because Spotify has its own icons, and just a tiny bit in text on a sidebar, because Spotify uses different font, which is, well, not free font to use. But yeah, it is pretty similar to Spotify site. Let's now from here continue forward. Let's build this top bar here from Spotify. To work with the top bar, right after my sidebar, here I will first of all create the div with the main content, well, main container, let's call it like that, and this main container will actually grab, well, we'll use, inside of that we will use all of our content of the site, so our top bar, our main part of the screen in the middle, and also that line at the bottom. So to create the content for our top bar, I will create top bar div, and inside we will first of all have those previous and next buttons. So I will create another div with prev next buttons class, and let's create those buttons. So first button will hold the type of a button as usual, and it will have a class of FA, FAS, FA, chevron, left. So we will still use those classes from Font Awesome, those icons. And the second button right here will be the same, but chevron will be pointing to the right. Now next to this prev and the next buttons, we will also have our nav bar, which is the other part of that top bar that we have. For this nav bar, we will have unordered list and list items inside. First list item will have the anchor tag, and it will say premium. And let's copy this few more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. Then the next one will be support. Then we will have download. And then we will actually have a divider. So I will remove the anchor tag from here. This list item will be on its own. It will hold the class of divider. And it will have that pipe line. That's it. Now for the next one, I will actually use sign up here and log in. So after this unordered list, still in the navbar, I will create one button. It will be the type of a button, and it will say log in right here. So we will be able to log in with the button. And with that, I realized that I actually created this additional list item which I don't need for the login, because we will use the button for a login. Now in my styles.css, after my sidebar, I will grab my main container that I have, and I will put margin on the left side to be 245 pixels. So we will move our content from that sidebar that we have, and I will also put margin on a bottom to be 100 pixels. So later when we have our playlists, those are not behind our, well, that bottom line, that gradient line that we will have. But with that, we have some of our content. We can see it right here. We have those two icons to go back and next. We have some of the links and the button as well. Let's go back now to style this top bar. So for that, I will target my top bar class, and I will use display as flex here. We will use Flexbox to specify where should we move our items. So here, display flex, justify content will be space between. Then we can have background color of our top bar to be 101010. And for the last thing, I will use padding to be 14 pixels top and bottom, 30 pixels left and right. Now let's target our top bar, then our priv next buttons, and each button inside actually that we have. So the color of our buttons will be 7A, 7A, 7A. Well, not 7.1, but 7A. Let me change that real quickly. Then the cursor, because those buttons are actually disabled, I will set the cursor to be not allowed. And then width of the buttons will be 34 pixels, height will be 34 pixels, and the reason why we have width and height, well, we will set the border radius to be 100%, so those will be full circles. Font size of the icons inside of these buttons will be 18 pixels, then border of the buttons will be 0 pixels, then background color for the button can be 090909, a bit darker color, and finally margin on the right side 10 pixels to have a bit of spacing between those. Now talking about the next thing after our previous and the next buttons, so here I will target my top bar and then nav bar content of that top bar. I will display this nav bar as flex itself, and I will align the items inside into a center, so those will be centered vertically as well. Now let's target our top bar, again nav bar and unordered list. Our lists currently, well, our list will have that bullet point at the beginning, that this disk sign, so I will use list style to be none, and then we can style our list items inside. So all of the list items will be actually displayed as inline blocks, so those will be next to each other. Then margin on those will be 0 pixels for top and bottom, 8 pixels for left and right, a bit of space in between those, and I will set the, well, fixed width here to be 70 pixels, because when we hover over those, the font size, well, the font size and the weight will actually change. So if we don't use the fixed width here, it will actually move the content around, but with the fixed width, it won't move the content. Now let's target anchor tags that we have, and for those we will use color to be B3, B3, B3. Then we can use text decoration to be none. Then font weight will be bold. We can also change font size. It will be 14 pixels, and a bit of letter spacing here, like 1 pixel. Now let's target again our anchor tags, but in different states. So here, hover, then active and focus. And what we can do here actually is use the color. So we will change that color to be white one, FFF, FFF. Then font size can be 15 pixels. This is the weird hover effect that Spotify uses to, well, enlarge the font size of those links. So we will use the same one. Now, don't forget that next to these links, we actually also have our divider. So let's target that one. So Topbar, then navbar, unordered list, and list item with the class of divider. And for that, I will set color to be FFF. Then font size of the divider will be 26 pixels. Margin will be 0 pixels left and right, 20 pixels, 0 pixels top and bottom, 20 pixels left and right, and then width will be auto. And that's it about the divider. And as a last thing, we actually have our button. So here, top bar, then our nav bar and button here. So background color will be FFF, then color will be black one, so 000, and then font size of the button will be 16 pixels, font weight will be bold, padding will be 14 pixels, 30 pixels, which is 14 for top and bottom, 30 for left and right. Then border, we will lose that border, we can set it to none or 0 pixels as I did. Border radius can be 40 pixels. Cursor of the button will be pointer, and as a last thing I will set margin on the left side to be 20 pixels. Again, be sure to grab this button and let's target pseudo classes on it like hover, active, and focus. For these, I will just quickly change the background color to F2, and that's pretty much it. With that, we are finished with our top bar. We have two arrows here. We have our links here with those hover effects, and we have our button right here. So the next one that I will create is that bottom bar that we have, which is this one with the gradient right here. To create that one, right after our top bar, I will create the new div with the class of preview. And inside of this div, we will have a part where there is just the text. So I will create the div with the text here. For the text, I will use h6, which will be preview of Spotify. This will be like the title of it. And we will have some paragraph with a bit of text. I will just copy and paste the text here, which will say sign up to get unlimited songs and podcasts with occasional ads, no credit card needed. So after this text, we also have a button on the right side. So I will create another div with button class, and actually we will have a button inside. Type of it will be button, and it will say sign up free. Now from here, I will immediately move myself into the CSS, and here I will target my preview, and for it I will set the position to be fixed because we need to move it to a bottom side. So bottom will be 0, then we will have left to be 0 and right to be 0 as well. Then we have background, so not the background color but background here, because we will use linear gradient. Linear gradient will be to a right side, and the first value will be AE2896, and the second value will be 509BF5. This will be our gradient. Now the padding for this one will be 15 pixels top and bottom, 40 pixels left and right. We will also display it as flex, so we can move our content, and we will move the content with this justify content. We will set it to be space between. Now for this preview, we will target our H6, the title. Let's change the color of the title to be FFF. Then text transform. So okay, I did the color wrong, 1 second, yep. Then text transform can be uppercase. Then we will set the font weight to be 400, font size to be 12 pixels, and margin on the bottom side to be 10 pixels. After this title, we will also target our preview, and then paragraph, the text that we have. Color of the paragraph will be white one, FFF. Font size will be 14 pixels, so the paragraph is a bit bigger even than the title. And font weight will be 500. Now, after this preview, we also have our button. So again, preview, not after the preview, but after that paragraph. Then let's target our button. So button will have a background color to be FFF. Color will be black one, so 000. Then font size can be 16 pixels. Font weight can be bold. I will also put a padding here to be 14 pixels top and bottom, 30 pixels left and right. Border will be none or 0 pixels as you wish. Border radius will be 40 pixels. And cursor, finally, for the button will be pointer. With that, we have our bottom line right here with the title, the text as well, and the button on the right side. So the only thing left is actually our playlist that we should create and these nice animations. So to create those playlists, I will create those above this preview. So let's create one div with the class of Spotify playlists, and in here I will use h2 as a title, which will say Spotify playlists. Now this here will also be our first list, which is the actual list called Spotify playlists. So inside of here we will create a div with the list class. So we are just now creating that list, and each item inside will be div itself. And let's see what we need for the item. Well, we will need the img tag. So I will lead this to the img folder that I have. Then I can go into the playlists, and first image that I have from here, I will also remove the alt tag. I won't need it for these ones. And now after this image, what we also need is that play button, which will be hidden. So play, it's a div. And inside of that div, we will have a span for the icon, which will say fa-play. And after the play, we will need the title of that playlist and also a bit of description. So here I will use h4 to be today's top hits. This will be the title, and paragraph will say Rema and Selena Gomez are on top of the, and 3 dots here. We will need to kind of add the 3 dots right here, because we don't know the full description that will go in here. But the 3 dots at the end is also the stylization in CSS that can be added, which we will add but for the titles soon. Now that we have first item inside of our list, we can actually move to our CSS to style those. So to style the Spotify playlists, I will first of all target the Spotify playlist, which is this parent div right here. Let me copy that so I don't mistype that. I will add a padding of it to be 20 pixels top and bottom, 40 pixels left and right. Then again, Spotify playlists and h2, that main title. Color can be FFF. Then font size can be 22 pixels, and margin on the bottom side will be 20 pixels. Now, after this h2, we should also style our list. So again, Spotify playlists and then list class here. So for the list, I will display that as flex, because each item inside will be styled by the Flexbox. Then I will use font size to be 22 pixels and margin on the bottom side to be 20 pixels. So this is between the lists. Now after the list, we should also target each item that we have. So that item. For the item, I will set actually the minimum width to be 140 pixels. This is because of the responsive view, which you will see later. Then width 160 pixels. So this is the normal width. Then we will have a padding to be 15 pixels. And also background color of our items will be 181818. Then we can have border radius, just the tiny bit of radius around the item. Cursor on the item will be pointer, and I will add also transition here to be all is 0.4 seconds. This way we will also have a smoother transition. So why we need that smoother transition? Well, because I will target the hover state of this item, and I will change the background color of the item to be 252525. Now let's talk about the elements inside of our item. So here we need to target our Spotify playlist, then the list, and then the item. And let's first of all target the image. The image will take 100%. So full width of the item, which is this here. Then when it takes that, it will also have a bit of border radius. It will be 6 pixels as the item has as well. And the margin on a bottom will be text 10 pixels. So our actual title of this item will be just below it. But before we style that title, we also have that play button right here, right? So let's style that one as well. To style that one, I will target Spotify playlist, then list, then item, and then play section, which will have the position to be relative, so we can move our icon wherever we wish. Then let's grab this play section and target our icon with .fa class. So position will be absolute, so we can move the icon. I will move it from the right to be 10 pixels. Right should be 10 pixels, yep, mistyped there. Then top can be, for example, minus 60 pixels. This is important because we will later move it with the hover effect as well. You will see how. Padding will be 18 pixels around that icon. Then we will have background color of the item to be the green one, the Spotify green, so 1D, B954. Then we have border radius to be 100%. It will be a full circle. Opacity here will be 0. And when we hover over our item, then we will show it. You will see how. And for that, we will also have transition to be all is 0.4 seconds. So now let's move to the hover effect. So I will grab again that same icon, but now on the item I will use the hover. So whenever we hover our whole item, when we do that, we will use the opacity to be 1. So we will show that icon, and then we will use transform. For transform, I will use translate epsilon, and on epsilon axis, I will move my icon to be 20 pixels to top. So you will see when we hover over, it will from this position be moved just a bit. You will see how. Now let's target our titles here that we have. So Spotify playlist, then list, item, and then H4 for our title. So for that, color can be FFF, then font size can be 14 pixels, then margin can be 10 pixels, white space here will be no wrap, and the reason because we have this white space is because we will use that 3 dots at the end for our titles, and we will add those through the styling. You will see how will that look. So to have that, we also need to set the overflow to be hidden, and also text overflow to be ellipsis. Ellipsis styling will add that 3 dots at the end. Now let's grab this same styling, but instead of the title at the end, we will target our paragraph, and let's style the paragraph. The color of the paragraph will be 989898. Font size will be 12 pixels. Line height can be 20 pixels, and font weight here can be 600, a bold one. Now with that, we actually have the beginning of our first playlist. We have Spotify playlist here as a title. We have our first item. We can see that nice animation with the title and also this content here. There is a bit of space here between the title and this line here. We will fix that soon, but let's go back to fix that and also add additional items right here. So the reason because we have that a bit of spacing is right here where we have margin. I don't wish to have margin, I just wish to have margin on the bottom side to be 10 pixels. Now let's go back into our items here and let's copy this few more times. So grab the entire item, copy it. So now let's change the images, titles, and paragraphs here. So I just added all of the items for this first list, so let's check how it looks. So here it is, we have all of the items, but we are missing a bit of spacing between those. So let's quickly fix that. To fix the spacing, go into your CSS and find where you have your list. And for this list itself, don't use the font size here. I obviously mistyped. I copied it from the top here. So what we need to do is actually remove this here and add the gap to be 20 pixels. So because we are using Flexbox, we will be able to add this gap, and also remove this margin on the bottom and add the overflow to be hidden. Now we have a bit nicer list here, and it looks really good with this Spotify one as well. So yeah, that's it. I will go back into my HTML to add other lists as well, so we can fully finish this Spotify list. So for those, actually, I will just paste those down below, as I already have prepared those previously. There is also HR at the end here, and we should style that HR. So right here, I will target my Spotify playlist. Right here, Spotify playlist, and then HR, and let's style it. I will set the margin of it to be 70 pixels top, 0 pixels left and right, and 0 pixels bottom. Next to this margin, I will use the border color to change the color of this HR to be 636363. And with that here, we are finished with our Spotify clone. You can see that we finished our, well, sidebar, top bar, this bottom line right here. We do have nice animations on our items, and we have multiple playlists right here. Related to the responsive view, well, the Spotify itself is not responsive. It will actually just remove some of the items from the list right here, and they are doing that programmatically. And as we are not using the JavaScript here, but only HTML and CSS, I didn't include that part at all. Instead of that, we have our overflow that will make sure that our site can move above these items that we have. And with that, we are fully finished with our Spotify clone that we did just with HTML and CSS. If you like this content so far, be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I plan to, well, publish more similar tutorials in the future. Thank you all once again for all of your support. It means truly a lot to me, and I will see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye.